27 gut feelings that turned out to be true, according to Reddit. In the interest of clarification, the question being asked here is, have you ever correctly had a gut feeling to dislike someone who, on the surface, was a cool person that everyone else liked? What's the story? You try condensing this shit into concise titles for a YouTube video. Number 27. It was a coworker of mine. We'll call her M. M was a friendly, and everyone liked her. She was friendly. Something was up with her though, and I had a bad vibe. She was always complaining about money issues, but then would go out for meals or come into work with new clothes that were not indicative of someone with severe money problems. She allegedly complained of such severe financial problems that she was telling people that she was having trouble putting food on her table for her kids. It was that level of desperation. Everyone liked her. I didn't. I had a really odd feeling about her, like she was being constantly deceptive. People would always help her out, either by giving her gift cards to Target, extra clothes, or canned food. She also complained of her car issues for a period of several months. This wonderfully kind lady at work, C, let M borrow her car during the workday. This was so that M could use whatever money that she said that she had to go to the store and buy food for her family. Additionally, she used C's car to take a nap from time to time. She claimed to work another evening job, and she was often very tired. Every year, our company sponsored a local family that needed a lot of help. We were a small business at the time, less than 50 employees, and we'd all donate something for the family at Christmas. It was usually toys, clothes, gift cards, and so forth. This year, we decided as a group, to my silent opposition, that M would be our family. This particular year, we amassed close to $1,100 worth of food, toys, clothes, and presented it to M before Christmas that year. She cried and said thank you. 3 months later, C's car was stolen right out of the employee parking lot. Coincidentally, M didn't report back to work that day. Long story short, M had made a copy of C's car key at some point and stole the car and drove out of state with the intent to flee and not return. We had come to learn that M had a long history of criminal charges, and M was eventually arrested in a traffic stop after C reported the car stolen. As it turns out, M was a financial criminal, specializing in identity theft. She had swindled many people and had a long criminal history, including multiple felonies. Right from the beginning, I knew something was up with her that I didn't like, but I couldn't put a real finger on it. I don't know why I saw it and no one else did. I actually began questioning my morals, asking myself, why do I dislike him when everybody else does not? Get the fuck over it. The real whimsical, bit of magic here is that the police actually found the car that C reported stolen after M stole it. Because, it'd be one thing if you said to the police, hey, my son's missing. He was last in my car. I think someone stole my car. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? Go looking for that car, police. But there was no kid in the car in this instance, so the police actually did their job? Wow. I'm just kidding, police. I love you, police. Police, I love you. Again, as it pertains to the lady in the story, obviously it doesn't apply to everybody. I can't make a blanket statement, but if you were going through a lot of trouble that in many ways, I wouldn't say was embarrassing, but was like crippling, you know what I mean? Like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you're going through some real shit. Like how autistic do you have to be, like asking people for, a handout so often, so constantly? Come here. I'm just going through so much. My kids. I just need to come. Can I please? Let me buy your car though. Number 26. My best friend in high school was a girl who didn't have the best taste in guys. Imagine that. She started dating a new guy who was 20 when we were 16. The dude was a classic douche. He went by a mononym, oh lord, didn't have a license, and just sponged off of everyone around him. I immediately had a bad feeling about this guy and voiced my opinion to her. Well, she got very angry and said a lot of very shitty things about how I was just jealous, and pretty much burned a 10-year relationship or friendship down in one fell swoop. About a week after that happened, she was found out she found out she was pregnant, and he didn't take it well. He beat her and threw her down a flight of stairs, and then left her at the bottom to die. However, I decided I didn't want the friendship to end over something so stupid, so I went to try and find her to talk. After a while, I found her at his house in a crumpled heap. I drove her a few towns over to the nearest hospital. A few towns over? What? Where the fuck you live? And sat in the waiting room all night with her family. She lived, but was so badly beaten that I couldn't even recognize her at first. Jesus Christ. The boyfriend was found 3 days later at a relative's house. I think he gets out of prison soon, though. Well, that's your prison system for your baby. Somebody asks, fuck, are y'all still friends? And they said, Yan. I don't know if that's like a Korean pop star. Probably meant an H there. Not quite as good as before, but a lot of that was me moving across the country for school and her wanting to stay close to home. Well, you know, people are crazy. What do you want? Number 25. My older brother's best friend in high school was considered to be a cool guy, well-liked and fun to have around, except that I suspected him to be devious and something of a perv. He had this obsession for our mom that was obvious to me, but no one else picked up on it. One day after school, I caught him going through my mom's drawers, checking out her personal clothes and underwear, and doing stuff I won't mention here. Oh, he was slacking that monkey. He was jerlurking that maherkle. After he got his murder circle, age 17, he asked her if she wanted to take a ride. Oh, the mom? That's what's up. That's when I told my brother the truth about his so-called best friend and asked him to put a stop to it or I'll tell Dad. Man, you sound like a real fuddy-duddy little sister bitch, you know what I mean? Not that, of course, we should be enabling the mom to cheat, but in my humble opinion, you know, welcome to Kyle. If the mom is the type of bitch to have an affair with a little boy and his dumb motorcycle age 17, then nail that bitch to a wall, you know what I mean? It's not just like you want to get this unfaithful, cheating bitch away from Dad and your family, you know, which should be what you want to do. But in this instance, she's also fucking around with a minor, so you can nail this bitch to the wall. Moving on. Number 24, my first girlfriend's husband. Okay. Sorry. My first girlfriend's husband. She and I had a bad breakup, but eventually got to be friends again, hanging out with the same crowd all the time. She met a guy who lived out of state and fell in love with him. I disliked him immediately. Everyone else thought he was fine. They got married, and a couple of years later, he started beating the crap out of her, and she wised up and left. I like this story because it's short and real. This is the way that a real person would write a story if you asked them to write a story and you asked them a question like, hey, you ever had a gut feeling about somebody? It turned out to be true. Yeah, I had a friend, and then she had this dude, and I didn't like the dude, and then he started beating her like a couple years later, and I was like, man, I told you I ain't like that dude. I told you about that dude. Number 23. My childhood best friend's mother's boyfriend. Let's read that again. My childhood best friend's mother's boyfriend. This is just a thread for women, isn't it? Is that rude? Tell me how rude it is in the comment section. He creeped me out and I hated being over his house when he was there. Her family went on a ski trip with mine, and my parents both thought he was great, funny, charming, etc. They didn't understand why I didn't like him. Years later, my best friend told me that he sexually abused her starting when she was about 9. I probably was picking up on her fear of him. Oh my God. This is a long thread. This is a long response, man. I guess I can read it, but 37 points. I guess because it was 6 hours ago and this post is like a day old. I will bend to you. I will stoop to you. 37 points, guy. I think kids generally have a sixth sense about adults, though. Like, I doubt it was just you picking up on your best friend's fear of him. You probably felt vibes coming off of him, too. Here we go. When I was about 10, my parents took me on a New Year's mini break to the seaside. It was meant to be full of families, but there were literally just coach loads of old people. My mom was not the best at booking holiday weekends away. They usually went wrong in some way. So, 10-year-old me is like, what the hell is this? I was expecting tons of kids I could act dumb with for one weekend and go play with on the beach. Instead, I was literally, and I swear, surrounded by about 60 people over the age of 60. My parents were the youngest adults there. There was this man there. His name was Harry. I don't know why or how, but the moment he looked at me, I got this freaking weird feeling in my stomach. He shook my hand and stared right into my eyes and was all like, "Hey, little lady, how are you?" And I remember cringing away from his hand. Didn't want to touch it again. He hadn't said or done anything weird. It was just a feeling. Bearing in mind I was the most outgoing kid you'd ever meet, loudest of them all, talked to anyone. Every adult would always be like, "Your daughter is so chatty and grown up," to my parents. But I did not want to talk to this guy at all. So that night we're all eating dinner in this big restaurant. My dad is going on and on to my mom about what a mistake she's made, and had she temporarily been suffering some sort of psychotic break when she'd booked this place. I'm sat there eating my soup in my own little world, and I swear I could feel him staring at me. And every time I looked up, he'd find eye contact with me and smile at me. I turned away. I couldn't say anything to mom or dad because when you're 10, it's hard to explain that feeling in your stomach other than a general ickiness. You can't make it mean something. The next day, there was a big dance in the evening, and I say dance, what I mean is little groups of elderly people moving stuntedly in awkward ways, and I was sat on the sidelines, mostly keeping to myself, wishing to high heaven that the whole nightmare would soon be over. I was just so bored, and then he comes over. As I'm sat with my mom, and he's like, "Come dance with me," and I shook my head, holding on to my mom. I wasn't the kind of kid to say no to adults. I honestly didn't know, and my mom, being none the wiser, pushes me up and says, "Go on, Em, stop being silly." And I have to get up and stand with him, and he puts his hand on my waist, and I feel like I might be exploding in my stomach because there was something so wrong about it, and I made some excuse and went to sit back down. I was angry with my mom the rest of the night, but couldn't figure out the words to tell her. I still sort of am, actually. I'm a big believer that when a kid says no to an adult about something personal like a hug or a dance or anything, the adult should respect and encourage that. Well, you're living in a world where you're a little bit wiser because the internet exists, and you have basically a bigger pool of people in which to shame people who think stupid shit, you know? But back in the day, adults didn't have that. They could just make up their own stupid-ass rules, and there wouldn't be a group of people to shame them. Whereas if they tried to make up those own stupid-ass rules right now, and then had a pool of people to shame them, they'd be all like, "Oh yeah, I see how that's crazy, never mind," you know what I mean? Then that night, as I'm going up to my room because I frankly had enough of the whole thing, I see him at the bottom of the spiral staircase. Okay. Honestly, I don't remember his exact words. I shut them out because it freaked me out, but it was something like, "Do you want to go on a walk with me?" I made some excuse and I ran away. When I told my mom a couple weeks later how I'd felt, she laughed it off and said his wife had recently died and blah blah blah. She didn't get it. And maybe I was overreacting, but I doubt it. Kids are good at sensing when someone's not good or not got their best interests at heart. Now, if you know anything about me and this channel, you know that Butter Slice would have handled this whole situation way differently. Number 22. Not me, but my sister. She has this uncanny ability to detect crazy people. My first boyfriend, who was secretly abusive, she called it after knowing him for 2 days. My next boyfriends, mom, who eventually forced me to take a pregnancy test because I had been looking rather pregnant and she wanted to know, she knew after the first meeting her. My toxic ex best friend of 7 years, she knew after 1 year. All of the people my sister calls out for being crazy, I now believe and avoid wholeheartedly. Damn your sister. Somebody says, I want to meet your sister and find out about myself. Somebody else says, I think if you spend time worrying what you might be secretly bad, that you're probably not too bad. Man. Number 21 has been deleted. And I don't know if context clues will. Somebody says, this story was a ride all the way to the end, but what really got to me was that your family owns an avocado ranch. Okay. Avocado ranch story has been deleted. Here's what we'll do. Oh boy. Okay. Give me a second here. Come here. You better do what I'm telling you to do now. At any rate, we'll just go ahead and continue for now. But I want that avocado ranch story. God damn it. Number 20. Yes, but I suppressed it so quickly and fast because I felt it was horribly ungracious since she was being so friendly. Over the next couple of years, she became my closest friend in the new town I had moved to. Then following couple of years, it vacillated between being close and just feeling like she really didn't want me around or was messing with me a little bit. Turns out she was having an affair with my husband and was literally intentionally driving me crazy. That sucks. I'm so sorry to hear that. Wow. Can you imagine like a lady, I don't know, being ridiculous with you, and then she's like with your husband? Wow. A response to this says, one of my closest friends did this to me, but it was an emotional effort. It was an emotional affair with my then fiance, now husband. I'd known her for so long and trusted her implicitly, so much so that when he had a business trip to her/my hometown, I had no issues with her playing tour guide and showing him around. That's when I felt things change. Things he was saying, things she was posting on Facebook. Even though they were somewhat vague, I got a gut feeling she'd fallen in love with him. He didn't believe me. He is super naive about things like this. It's a long story, but she tried to get him not to marry me. When that didn't work, she tried to turn me against him. That didn't work, so now she's turned a lot of our very long mutual friends against me. When I thought about it, I realized in the past she had tried to turn me against other friends as well. She's a master manipulator, but very loved by everyone. Well, if you can't manipulate somebody into loving you, or most people into loving you, I should say, then you're not much of a manipulator at all, are you, buddy? So, oh boy. I can't scroll up and down in this thread, which is very strange. But what we're gonna do is search for avocado ranch. Is that how you spell that? Okay, don't see avocado ranch, so we're just gonna write, I don't know, how about ranch? This one says branch in it a whole bunch of times. Not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's try just ranch. Branch. Fuck me. Branch. Franchises. Branch. This guy's name is Branch. Wait, what? Why are so many of these deleted, man? You know? Here's one that's been deleted. I grew up in a small summer town and worked at a local pizza shop as my first job. My second summer working there was a hired new delivery guy named Tony. Now, Tony didn't look like he knew much, but I couldn't tell him from the beginning. But I could tell from the beginning that there was something off with him. I worked the whole summer with him and started hanging out with him as well. We smoked, and he got my first bag of mushrooms, and I was the young guy hanging out with the cool adults. After the summer, I picked up a second job in an injection mold factory. Coincidentally, Tony had gotten a similar job at the same factory. After a few months, I left that job to pursue a different opportunity, and I had started picking up shifts at the pizza shop again. It wasn't until that following spring that I would realize who Tony truly was. He and another guy had come in one night during the springtime and placed an order I'll never forget. Two steak tip dinners, medium, ranch Ital for the salads. Now, this would be like any other order for me, if not for what I had seen on the news a week later. Murder doesn't happen often where I grow up, so when it happens, it's a big deal. A young girl had been murdered the week before and dumped into one of the local ski ponds. The search went on for a week with no real rumors going around. That's when I saw Tony's face on TV with the guy that he had just come in, that had come in just a week prior. It turns out it was a robbery gone bad. The girl had been rumored around town to be a crack dealer, so Tony and two other guys tried to rob her and ended up killing her. I'll never forget the way they ordered their food that night. It's surreal to think about how nonchalant their demeanor was after killing a girl in cold blood and dumping her body, some poor sap, to find this way into work. What's wrong with this one? Why you gotta delete everything, Reddit? Come on. You know? Oh boy. Look, I don't see a damn thing about avocados. Ain't that something? We out here looking for this avocado post. Maybe I spelled avocado wrong. How you gonna spell avocado wrong? It wasn't a ranch, it was a farm. Damn it, Kyle. So type avocado and then search for that. Come on. It says there's 0 things there for avocado. How's that possible? There's 13 farms. It's not fucking here. That post has been purged from existence. I'm beginning to wonder if certain people are deleted, you know what I mean? If their posts vanish. Do you get what I'm saying? God, this is so stupid, and I apologize. Number 9, oh my God. Number 19, my stepfather. He's my mom's 3rd husband. Mom met him at a country bar she used to go dancing at, and saw him there for a while before deciding to introduce him to her kids. He took us all out to dinner that night, and we had a relatively good time. Then we all went back to the house. We weren't home long before I heard him and my mom giggling in the hallway, and suddenly I just felt sick. I was about 12 at the time, by the way. I'm not sure what it was, but suddenly I just hated this guy. My mom asked what was wrong, and I just said I didn't feel good and went to my room. Imagine the surprise of all of the kids when we woke up to see the guy was still there. He moved in that very night. I tried to make the best of the bad situation, though. I avoided him for some time. No more than a week later, he offers to brush my hair for me. We're all in the living room watching TV. I'm hesitant at first, but my mom encourages me. Apparently, he had sisters and knew how to brush a girl's hair. I kept my hair about waist length back then, and it was a bitch to get the knots out, so I caved and let him brush my hair. He just brushed it, no big deal. So when he offered other times, I let him. Then one day he offered while no one was there, because my hair was so long, why don't I just sit on the edge of the chair in front of him? Oh, hey, would you look at that, a back rub? I rub your mom's back all the time. I should mention this wasn't my first interaction with a perv, and I actually was very bothered just by being that close to someone. I hated being touched back then, but because everyone's obviously like the guy, I told myself I shouldn't cause problems. Next thing I know, can I rub it down a little further in front? It's your decision. You're completely in charge here. Thank God I had the courage to say no. I avoided him for ages after that and didn't have the sense to tell my mom or my brothers. The guy proceeds to find ways to get both of my older brothers out of the house by the time I'm 15. He goes long periods of time seeming to be perfectly good guy, and then out of nowhere hits me with something pervy and horrid. Sophomore year comes up, and we get our class rings. Well, these things are not cheap, and we've always been fairly poor. My mom says I have to ask dumbass for money. I asked him to buy my class ring, and he says, "What's in it for me?" I go silent. My mom is right there. She innocently says she can bake you a cake. I'm good at baking. He's quiet for a while and has to think it through. Then he says, "Okay, but there are rules." I forgot what all of the rules were, stupid stuff mostly, but this final rule was if you lose the ring, you get naked. What? This is an expensive ring. It's a lot of money, so you better not lose it or you get naked for me. My mom tells him to stop, but only half-heartedly. When I try to talk to her about it later, she says, "Well, I guess you better not lose it." Okay. At that point, I kind of figured I couldn't count on my mom for help. Over the years, I've learned she was messed with a lot when she was younger and has convinced herself that all men are this way. I love my mom to death, but it kills me that she believes this. He's never stopped being a total asshole. I lived with them until I was 20. I was very shy and having a job was very hard for me. I tried moving in with my oldest brother to help him take care of his kid, but after 3 months I was asking to come home and once again got the "what's in it for me" response. I got to hear all about how he'd lived the past few years just for me and my mom, bought us a house and everything, and how ungrateful I was. I came back to what was essentially a prison. I had my nephew with me at first, as my brother was going to give my mom custody of him. That is until my stepdad got mad at him and kicked him hard. A 3-year-old boy who hadn't done anything more than annoy him, probably by making noise. So mom calls up my brother and tells him to come get him because she's afraid to have him around my stepfather. Then once he's gone, she convinces herself that he never did it. Finally, I met my first boyfriend. By this time, I'm 20. I had gotten 2 part-time jobs, and he worked at one of them. I was hanging out at his house a lot, and my stepdad got jealous. He decided to give me a curfew of midnight and said that if I break it, then I'm out of the house and can't ever come back unless I sleep with him, because he knows I can't be a virgin anymore. I was. Okay, so there was no excuse now. I cried to my boyfriend and he told me I could come live with him. This was after we'd only been seeing each other for about 3 weeks. That night I didn't go home. My stepfather called me and screamed, called me a stupid little bitch, and I screamed back and told him he made my life a living hell. An hour later, he and mom pull up with a truck full of all of my stuff that he could put in it. He took my car because it was my mom's and dumped my stuff right there, telling my boyfriend I was his problem now. I will never forget the smirk on my mom's face when she hugged me and apologized for everything. She said she wasn't mad at me at all, but was proud. Apparently, I'd had the guts to do what she couldn't. Of course, not long after I left, he finally proposed to her, and they got married. It's screwed up to realize that the reason your stepfather didn't marry your mom is because he wanted a shot at you first. Man, this is disgusting. This is the type of shit they make a movie out of. And I know that you know, that real life is stranger than fiction, but fuck me. You don't want to think about this kind of shit going down. Anyway, this is way longer than I meant it to be, but the point is that everyone who meets this asshole loves them. They do not know who he is, just that he's a personable and relatively smart. But I never forgot that first night when, for no apparent reason, I just felt sick at the thought of him. This is the list. You know what I mean? It's not going to get better than this one. It's not going to get better than this one. Yet somehow, it's number 19. As we move along. Number 18. Ex-wife's second husband. Took 10 years, but I was right. He is currently on year 1 of a 32-year life sentence, or 32-year sentence for repeated rape of his daughter. Disgusting. Disgusting, man. Number 7. I can't take any more kid rape ones, so let's come on. That's I'm sending you my energy, Goku. Spirit bomb the top part of this list if there's more kid rape, because I can't do it. No more kid rape, man. Number 17. I'm a chef. And within 1 minute of hiring someone, sorry, I was like laughing in my head at the idea of like, you know, it's starting off like it's not a kid rape one, and then boom, kid rape at the end of it. I'm a chef, and I like to make the best, and then I was fucking my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not cool, it's not funny. It's fucked up, you know what I mean? And that's the disgusting part. If we don't laugh, we'll cry. Oh boy, it's so terrible to think about. It really just puts me down. I'm not trying to depress anybody with these lists, but hey, baby, like real life is fucking depressing. This is why half of us stay inside, you know what I mean? Oh, just stay indoors. Even indoors, some people can't escape it because that's their relative. Like, oh my fucking God, don't think too hard about it. Number 17, I'm a chef, and within 1 minute of hiring someone, I know if they are going to work or will need to be replaced. First impressions mean a lot. So if you bring up killing your wife, which happened last week, or pain pills yesterday, within the first 5 minutes of your first shift, it's not gonna work out because you're an idiot. Somebody responds, yeah, I work in the industry where we hire all types. The amount of people who during their training week would find it necessary to tell me about their addictions, convictions, or childhood abuse, oh my God, was disturbingly high. People who have gone through treatment of any type seem to frequently miss the group on strategic sharing. Okay. How do I get an industry where they hire all types? Number 16. My mother's cousin is a vet in a rural area. This dude makes bank and is really super nice guy. How come I don't know anybody who makes bank that could be blowing up my wish list? I'm kidding. Some of you already do that too well. I'm looking at you, Lexeus. All you gotta do is just chill in that recliner and just watch me. Because you have done enough. I gotta find a way to make this guy a saint or something. I gotta give, like, say, something back. This dude makes bank and is really a super nice guy. He was very close with his elderly mom and dad. Sadly, his first wife lost a ton of weight and then felt that she was out of his league and left him. It's how women work, baby. They'll talk to you for now, okay? A few years later, he shows up to my mom's house with this Sophia Loren type 10 times out of his league. She was all sweet and sugar pie to everyone. I forgot what I did to piss her off, but it was an accident. But she broke character just for a second and let Cruella de Vil show through. I was a kid and she grabbed my arm and looked at me like she would kill me. Everyone said I was crazy and mean, and that looks aren't everything, and that she loves him. Like I was trying to sabotage his relationship. Fuck me, right? What do you need to do? Clear your throat, guy? Hold on. There we go. Flash forward 2 years, she kicked his parents out of the house and that they were in for 50 years. Sold their home against their will, stole all their money, forced him to choose between them and her. Sadly, he chose her. She drained him, tore apart his family, and ruined the last year of his father's life. He died scared and miserable, told his mother Just give me the money and you won't live long enough to use it. It broke her heart that her son just stood there. But karma paid that bitch a visit to the tune of acute leukemia, and she died. Oh shit. Oh shit. Just give me the money, you won't live long enough to use it, said this bitch to this dude's mom. Okay? And then she died of leukemia, and the mother is still alive, in her 90s and doing pretty well. He's back in the fold, just sucks his father didn't get to see the end where everything went back to the way it was. But the dad is still a son of a bitch. You know what I mean? How you gonna let this bitch say this kind of stuff to your people that brought you up? You know what I'm talking about? Parents are assholes and they fuck everything up. You know what I mean? They don't know how to rate. There's no guide. There's no proper guide. And even if there were, it probably wouldn't apply to each kid who is different. These kids are individual kids. You know what I mean? Even if you have two twins and you raise them in exactly the same environment, you can't raise both of them the exact same way and get the exact same results. It's not how humans work. So there's no guide. You got to ease up off parents. Did they do their job? Are you still alive? Then your parents were your parents. You feel me? You're still around, which is more than a lot of people can say. So you got to have their back because they had yours. Holy shit, man. Just gonna stand there and let some hoe try to, and it's so clear that she's in it for the money too. Fuck me. What's worse? What is worse? This is obviously mean, but she fucking deserved it. Yeah, nobody's gonna deny that. I just couldn't believe that your mother's cousin actually picked that bitch over his own parents. Well, I don't know what to say. Number 15, baby. This is a roller coaster. A few years ago, when I was still in college, I took a summer job at a movie theater. I met a lot of really cool people there, including my significant other, but there was this one guy who always gave me the creeps. We'll call him Drew. He was friends with almost everyone, including my significant other, and had been for years. We'd attended the same parties, and he'd do all these little things that would feel like red flags, but apparently not to everybody else. Fast forward about a year, I no longer work there. My significant other and I have been together for maybe a year, and he has been promoted to manager. Drew has also been promoted to supervisor. It should be noted that there was a lot of teenagers employed at this theater. One day, two of the younger girls comes into the office. If they were 18, they were only just 18 to talk to my significant other. They tell him they're sorry because they knew my significant other is friends with Drew, but they have to tell him something. The younger one tells him that a few weeks ago she was sitting alone in the break room eating her lunch. Drew walks in and says to her, "Do you touch yourself?" And she doesn't answer, and he says, "Because if not, you should." I think he said more, but my SO is so furious when he told me that story that he was having trouble telling it. My SO fills out the report for the poor girl and passes it to the GM, who then informs him that Drew had 5 counts of sexual harassment on his file already, but corporate loved him, so they could never fire him. My SO never spoke to Drew again. Last I heard, he was fired, removed from his job at a brewery by security for sexual harassment. Many of our friends are still very close to him. I don't understand it, but I'm just thrilled to have that creep out of my life. That's disgusting. Here's the thing, guys. You know what I mean? If you're, everybody's got a little bit of a freak inside of them. You know what I mean? However, that shit doesn't need to come out on everybody, and it's very easy to tell whether people are receptive to that kind of crap or not. And in many cases, they will initiate it with you. If somebody did, think of it's just a game of ass grab. You know what I mean? You never be the first to grab ass. You know what I'm saying? And I know this sounds ridiculous because in my description right now, then no one will ever be the first. But trust me, the people who aren't listening to this video, if they like you enough, they'll do something that's borderline like, what the fuck? And then you'll literally have to do something what the fuck back just to test the waters. Don't be gross. Don't be vulgar. This kind of shit, do you touch yourself? You know it was worse than this. You know, other shit that he got caught for was worse than this, man. You know what I mean? This is borderline autistic and it's unacceptable. Like, what the fuck? And people love this guy, apparently. That's the crazy part. People love this guy. Somebody else responds, "This reminds me of the owner of a produce stand my friends and I used to work at in high school." A produce stand. He was in his mid-30s, balding and a closet stoner who would buy pot and occasionally mushrooms for us. Well, that's why y'all working at a produce stand. This dude is buying y'all mushrooms and pot. Ganja. We all liked the job because we could smoke in the walk-in fridge. That's what's up. And experiment with some crazy smoothie creations. The owner seemed nice enough, but sometimes would bring up creepy conversations regarding teenage sex lives. Anyway, the stand was in a marketplace, and I made friends with several girls that worked at the other stands. Girls began to tell me stories about him regularly saying inappropriate shit to them. What stands out most, though, vividly in my memory, is a 14-year-old girl telling me he told her how he liked the way she moved her hips when she mopped. Because it says her liked the way she moved her hips, and I knew that was incorrect, so I had to read ahead. Forgive me. Now that I reflect on it, it's interesting that we all caught wind of his creepy remarks, yet kept working there. Pedo types definitely use smoking weed and providing alcohol as a way of getting naive teenagers to downplay their overall inappropriate behavior. Yeah, I mean, what were y'all gonna do? Destroy your oh my god, that's your contact right there. That is your contact. Somebody else going into another story. Calm down. The stories are overflowing. Let me get out of here. Number 14. While in the army, we moved into a new house in upstate New York. We were being neighborly and talked to a guy across the street. He had 5 kids and no wife. He also had multiple neighborhood kids playing in the yard. He told us we can always send ours over. He gave us both this horrible feeling, so we smiled and got the fuck out. About a year later, my wife told me that his kids were taken away from him. He had been molesting them, at least ever since his wife died. Oh my god. I fucking told you no more kid rape stories. And y'all playing around in here, alright? Jesus Christ. I think the bottom line is this, guys. The bottom line is this. If most people could fuck kids, they probably would, you know? And the only thing keeping them in check is the law. So, hide your kids, man. This is fucking creepy. Number 13, my stepdad. On the surface, he seemed like a good guy. Went to church twice on Sundays and once on Wednesday. Always helped out when somebody needed help. Whether it was something as simple as loaning $5 to something as complicated as roofing a house. Had a good paying job, refused to smoke inside the house. When him and my mom went out on dates, he always made sure to bring home food for all of us and toys for younger kids. Would randomly take everyone out to dinner or to the theater. Despite all of that, I disliked him from the moment that I met him, even before he showed interest in my mom. People told me I was being paranoid, not to worry about it. Fast forward a year, him and my mom are married. I just got a job and was waiting on my first paycheck to move out on my own. My manager gets a frantic call that I need to come home pronto. My stepdad had been secretly spending all of our bill money on pot. We were about to be evicted. The power had already been disconnected. The water service was about to be. And then the stepdad tried to kill my pregnant mom. Later on during the restraining order court hearing, he threatened to cut the baby out of my mom's stomach and leave her and the fetus in an abandoned fridge in a field. Okay. That went from about 0 to skip-scop billion in an instant. You know what I mean? How do you get to the point where you're buying, like, this isn't a weed thing, you know? I don't need to know more to know that this isn't a weed thing. This guy is fucking crazy. If he's schizophrenic and he's got a lot of other shit going on, let that be what's at the forefront of this shit. Because there's nobody in the history of ever who's smoking weed to the point where they're just like, I gotta get more weed and share it with more people, you know what I mean? To the point where your power's getting cut off, the water's getting cut off. You threatening to kill a pregnant lady. That's your baby mama. You threatening to kill. Talk about you gonna cut out the baby and leave her in an abandoned fridge. What the fuck are you talking about? Weed didn't make you do this, son. Somebody said, yes, it was pot, not heroin. Everybody probably blowing up this person's inbox going, are you sure it was just weed? There was something else going on that you don't know about. Trust me. What do the comments in this thread say? Somebody says, never trust a hyper-religious person. They're usually using it to hide something else. A lot of addicts join crazy churches and go all fundamentalist to try and replace one addiction with another. Look, man, I don't. This is weird. He was buying an inordinate amount of pot and sharing it to about 10 to 15 people daily. Not just enough to get high, but enough to supply those guys and their girlfriends' wives. It's kind of weird. I don't understand. I don't understand the story at all. If he was really trying to be like the Jesus of pot and just handing it out to everybody and just like, oh, gotta get more money for pot to give it to more people. Like, what? Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. You know? Even if he just became the Jesus of pot and just forgot about all of his expenses and the things that he needed to do so that he could buy more weed to give it out to more people, where the fuck do cutting baby out of bitch, leaving her in an abandoned fridge in a field come from? Do you feel me? Where does this come from? And leave her and the fetus in an abandoned fridge in the field. Moving on. Number 12. Apparently when I was 4 to 5 years old, my grandmother introduced me to some new boyfriend. Everyone liked him, but I would have nothing to do with him. Wrinkled my nose, wouldn't be left alone by him. Oh my goodness. That sneeze came out of nowhere. Okay, I guess he just came into her apartment one day and walked at her with something behind his back, said nothing. She got an eerie feeling and said, "Are you going to kill me?" With a dead-faced stare, he came at her. She managed to jump over some furniture and get away. She's always been in great shape, running 3 miles a day until the age of 80. She got somewhere safe, called the police, and never saw him again. Never saw him again, though, dude. He knows where you live, nigga. And a out of nowhere, like, attempt on your life, you know? That's the type of shit that there's no video evidence of. So even if they did catch the dude, you know, and they could find his prints on a knife, if this is your boyfriend and he was living there, it's just he said, she said, you know? It's not like you living in Texas where you could go to jail and keep him there forever, you know, based on just some bullshit that the woman is squawking, dude. This is really scary and difficult to, like, get pinned on. It's really hard to pin a dude to the wall, you know? But what could she have done? Let the dude stab him or something? Man, that sucks. That's scary as fuck. Because if I had somebody make an attempt on my life and then they fled, son, and I know the police ain't gonna have my back because the police don't have anybody back unless they got an amount of money to, unless you have so much money that you might as well just hire a bodyguard to be on constant duty at your house. You know what I'm talking about? The cops aren't gonna have your back in a capacity where this shit's gonna matter. So I would be living in fear knowing that this dude that wanted me dead is still out there. Okay? He's still out there. And now he can plan a better attack, maybe involve other people. Oh my God. Number 11. Some girl started talking to me on a bus ride home. Come on, Kyle. Come on, Kyle. Number 11. Some girl started talking to me on the bus ride home. Well, there's a G in talking, Kyle. Okay? You're gonna read it right, alright? Number 11. Some girl started talking to me on the bus ride home. Is that alright, Kyle? I thought there was something off about her, but my parents, who are inherently optimists, told me to be nice and hang out with her. They even invited her over for dinner a few times. She lived about a 4-minute walk away from me, so it was hard to come up with excuses not to hang out. We eventually hung out a few times, and I found out she was a foster kid and had gotten bounced around a lot. She was also on a lot of medication for bad joints. Okay, listen, when you're a foster kid and you're bounced around a lot, this means that like you didn't develop the way typical people would develop, okay? I want to say what would normally be 1 red flag could probably be 2 to 3. You know, foster kids get fucked up. It's not their own fault. It's just the way the world works. So when you say something like she's on a lot of medication for bad joints and bipolar disease, that's like 8 red flags right there. I don't care what you say. Seems like it, you know, you read it and you're just like, oh, that's only 2 things, Kyle. No big deal. That's like 8 red flags from me. And a few other things. She was almost 18. A girl who's already hormonal, you know what I mean? Because this is the way our bodies work, is on meds for bipolar disease at like the scariest point developmentally in her life. Okay. Well, anyway, turns out she was having an affair with the father, and they plotted to kill the mom so that they could be together. Okay. They made sure to plan it during a time when the dad was out of town. The girl ends up stabbing her foster mom to death, and the family's biological daughter is the one to call 911. They put the 911 tape up online, and it was the worst thing I've ever listened to. Somebody said there's a link to the 911 call. Oh, damn. Just gonna throw that up there by the hentai link. It's not really a link to hentai, guys. But what is it a link to, I wonder? Let's click it. It's a link to 10 video game secrets developers don't want you to know. God, you got traditional lists in your own fucking bookmarks, Kyle. It's funny. Apparently these lists are typically only 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Yet the lists that I end up reading are what? We're like 51 minutes into this bad boy. And we're not even a number 10, boy. So yeah, get a load of that one. I bet you we plotted with the dad to kill the mom, and then the kid had to call the fucking 911. Yeah, dude, go check it out. Go check that out. Number 10. One of my brothers was dating his girl, or this girl, and everyone else had met her several times before I did since I was off at college. So the first impression I got of her is when she shows up at our house and just walks right in. She doesn't knock, doesn't let anyone know she's in there, just walks her happy ass inside and sits on the couch. So when I come down the hallway into the living room, the bitch had this super vapid smile on her face. I just had this weird gut instinct that she was hiding something from everyone and was going to fight to death to keep it hidden. I expressed to my mom that she gave me a weird vibe and got told to stop being jealous. Long story short, she ended up having an entire other relationship and life with another guy 3 hours away. How did your brother find out? Someone asks. She clarifies her other guy came to see her one day, and she told my brother that he was an old coworker, so my brother said he'd take them all out to lunch, and she lost her shit, and it all unraveled. She admitted to everything from using my brother for money to having this whole relationship for their entire relationship. So she dead now? Said somebody else. No, she's actually completely single. Apparently, other dude didn't know she had been dating my brother, so when he found out, he kicked her to the curb. Somebody else says, did your brother start dating the other guy? And then the original person says, though that would have been the best conclusion to bring this all full circle, no. And then somebody else said, the best thing about being a full circle is that you're never straight. Number 9. A pastor who was involved in the community outreach program for a prison, which I volunteered to for the first time, seemed very friendly on the outside but seemed really creepy to me. He kept putting his hands on my shoulder on that day and got my number from one of the volunteers and called me nonstop that night to say he is lonely and wants to talk. I was 14 at the time. Report him to the police. Unfortunately, where I lived when this happened, these things won't be taken seriously by the police. It's true. Police don't give a damn. Number 18. When I first met my birth mother, what the birth mother, sorry. I'm losing it as I always do when we're coming to the end of this list, but I can put this together. This person's username is Cassie Jessie, and the scary thing about that is I've dated a girl with both of those names. Number 8, when I first met my birth mother's uncle, I was instantly creeped out by him. He's in his 40s, in a band, and has heaps of friends everywhere he goes and gets well along with everyone. But I just had a horrible gut feeling and didn't trust him. He's a really touchy-feely guy, and he would try and kiss us on the lips and passed it off as just being friendly. Turns out he touched my birth mom and had sex with her when she was just a child. My mother let us children hang out with her rapist. His son, my birth mom's cousin, is a convicted pedophile and just recently got out of prison. I'm so glad I was in a long-term foster care, but I really wish I wasn't allowed contact with my birth family. They are truly the definition of fucked up. Okay, man, that's pretty heavy. Wild. You know, it's one thing if you want to be cool with whoever raped you, but to put your kids there, man, I guess that's the definition of being cool with your rapist, when you want your kids around them too. You want your kids to get raped? It's kind of weird. I guess if it was fine for you, then you don't have the mental shit in your head to imagine a world where it wouldn't be fine for other people. And that's the worst thing about some people, is that they can't utilize the concept of perspective. They like things a certain way. They believe things should be a certain way. So in many instances, they think that other people should like things that way and believe things to be that way as well. They think everybody else thinks like them. So they can't imagine a world in which where they wouldn't be down to have this kind of shit happen to them as well. And that's why some people really drop the ball and fuck up as parents, because if you can't put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and I'm not talking about just like, oh, I can imagine what it's like if that were to happen to me. You have to assume that you have no idea what that's like, because that person isn't growing up at the same time that you grew up. They aren't growing up in the same environment you grew up. They don't have the same people around that you did or didn't have, you know what I mean? They don't have the same things at their disposal right now that you did or don't. It's just a different ball game. And even if it was exactly the same scenario with the same controls and variables, right? Okay? You're two different people. And this is sick. That's sick, you dirty bitch. It's like she offered her kids up, man. That's fucked. Number 7. That's a veiled kid rape one. She was raped as a kid, and then she offering other kids up. Fuck, man. No more kid rape. No more kid rape. I might end this list if we get another kid rape. Number 7. My mom was a single mom and this is the kid rape list. Oh my God, I just realized. Number 7. My mom was a single mom and did the best she could. Can you imagine if I tried to name the video that? YouTube would lose their damn mind. However, she thought it might be better to leave me with neighbor than at home alone. Oh no. From the age of 6, I pleaded with my mom to let me stay home alone until she got home from work and it would be okay. My intuition was right. The neighbor was convicted of multiple murders of single mom 1 and 2 towns over. When DNA evidence came into being, he only liked to date and kill non-obese women. Fortunately, my mother was fat. Oh, that fat bitch. You fat bitch. I'm kidding, I'm a fat dude too, but I'm not a fat bitch leaving my kids with a fucking murderer. He's a murderer. Your mama's so fat, she survived and lives a happy life. We got jokes. This got 17,000 upvotes. That's more than the original post. Oh my god. Wholesome Yo Mama Jokes is not a real page, is it? Yeah, there's 1,000 subscribers to that page. Let me get the fuck out of this list. I'm trying to live my life. How long have I been reading this alone? Just about an hour, 59 minutes and 50 seconds, you know what I mean? Usually the list with Stripes go on longer because she's the one pulling me off topic, but I can't deal with all this kid rape. And Moida. Number 6. My former handball coach, everyone liked him, but I had a weird feeling about him. After training, he would come into our showers and give out shower caps for us to use, or in the winter, he would bring us snow to play. A few years later, he got arrested for sexual assault when he went to a training camp with younger girls. Apparently, he got into their tents and played with them. Oh. Somebody said he would bring snow into the shower so you could throw snowballs in the shower. What the hell? And then the guy goes, it was legit. It was a legit reason for him to enter the showers, and us being 7 years old somehow liked the idea of having a snowball fight. Somebody said that in itself is creepy, just a snowball thing, yuck. Somebody else said, yeah, fuck snowballs. Snowballs are fucking pedophiles, man. Look, man, I don't like the idea of him touching those little girls in their tent, man. That's fucked up. Come on now. Okay, we only got 5 more to go. That's it, man. Number 5. When I was a boy, 7 to 8 years old, at a coffee shop I would go to with my parents, frequently there would be a middle-aged Asian woman hanging out. She was a regular, the baristas knew her, my parents were friendly with her, sometimes I would play board games with my parents and her. She gave me the fucking creeps, but I couldn't pinpoint why. My parents knew I didn't like her much, but not the full extent. Anyway, the very first time I was with her without my parents, they were starting the car or something like that. She tried to get me to come back to her house. She wouldn't take no for an answer and got pushy. When my parents came back, I told them what happened and we never went there again. That Asian lady was going to sell you into slavery, baby. That or she was going to chop you up and make some Chinese food for a week. Ooh, that little boy meat makes some good sweet and sour chicken. Oh, that sweet and sour chicken that tastes so good. You want spicy or no spicy? Oh my bing bong. Sorry, I just imagine I was on like a radio show and I had like all of these noises on my soundboard. Oh God. A response reads, I'm a bit surprised, but very happy your parents believed you. Did they ever try Googling her name and locale? Somebody else said, don't remember her name. Unfortunately, my parents were really good about not being dismissive when I was a kid. That's what's up. Don't be dismissive to your kids. Don't be dismissive to your kids. Don't be dismissive to your kids. 4. The girlfriend I used to work at the same ski hall with, and the place was pretty much full of seasonal employees, meaning people that are coming in and out, you know what I mean? Revolving door status. Anyway, she got this new dude in her department that everyone thought was a super nice guy. I didn't trust him. There was just something about the way he talked to female employees that just seemed weird. He wasn't trying to gain their he was trying to gain their trust way too fast. I made my sentiments known to my girlfriend and other friends, and they thought I was just being jealous or something. I worked part-time out of town at the time, and he'd ask me what days I was gone. It was weird. He also didn't have a car, so sometimes my girlfriend would give him a ride home, and he'd ask to hang out at our place when I was out of town. She declined. So at the end of the season, a female friend of ours and the kid... So at the end of the season, a female friend of ours and this kid decided to rent a place together. They weren't dating. And as they were in the final steps, federal marshals show up and arrest him. Federal marshals. Federal marshals. Turns out, he had been on the run for over a year for kidnapping and raping a girl in a different part of the country. His family had been helping him and he took the name of his brother while on the run. Filling out the house application somehow tipped off the marshals. Trust your instincts. Never give up. Trust your instincts. Somebody said, oh man, I can't imagine how that poor girl was gonna live with him felt after she found out. She was probably all like, rapist, kidnap rapist. Number 3, my sister's boyfriend. I just immediately found him to be very fake and disingenuous, but the rest of the family loved him and B found him very charming. He owned a running store franchise that was more successful than the original store and was also doing well trading on the stock market. He sold the store back to the owner for a ton of money to focus on God, Kyle. Okay, guys, listen. I'm going to tell you why I'm so messed up right now, okay? I leaned down to look at my phone, which I just heard go off. It has like the little Mario ding noise. And a fart slipped out. That's right. A fart slipped out. So I was thinking, man, I wonder if that made it into the recording, right? And then I was thinking, like, in a terrible scenario where somebody in the comments is like, yo, listen to the second marker. Do you think he farted? Right? And I'd have to be like, no, I didn't fart. It was a text message noise. And I was just thinking of how genius that is, dude. A text message noise fart that I could then blame the phone for if it ever happened. I'm a fucking genius. And by the way, it was the noise and I didn't fart. Now let's start number 3 over, okay? It's a text message noise, no big deal. You know, I don't do that, whatever. Number 3, okay? My sister's boyfriend. I just immediately found him to be very fake and disingenuous, but the rest of the family loved him and found him very charming. He owned a running store franchise that was more successful than the original store and was also doing well trading on the stock market. He sold the store back to the owners for a ton of money to focus on the stock market, but this was around the time of the market crash. So to help with that, he worked at the store as a salesman. They eventually got married and bought a huge house. And that's when the cops came knocking at the door to their large home with a view. He wasn't rich. He never owned the store. He was only ever a worker and had been stealing cash from the register and products and selling them on eBay. The divorce came quick after that. Somebody said, ha, another eBay creep. What? I have a similar story. Sycophant Jeremy, a Weasley-looking younger dude I worked with at a music shop in the UK. He was the perfect employee, early to work, stayed late every day. He'd fix things and tinker about, all being helpful when there were no customers and I was sitting around playing the expensive keyboards. I always knew he was a cunt inside. A cunt inside. Okay? But the managers loved him for some reason, had nicknames for him and shit. And then I left the job. Fast forward a few months, I go in for some guitar strings and Jeremy's not there. Jeremy had been stealing those expensive keyboards and high audio equipment. That's why he was staying late all the time. He was loading the gear into his Mini out back of the shop. He'd been at it for ages. He got sent to court, and last I heard, he was paying back incremental installments of thousands of pounds worth of stolen goods. He got caught because he had left his eBay account logged in to the manager who loved him's computer, and all the gear on there tallied in reverse chronological order with the stuff that had gone missing. How stupid do you have to be to log in to your eBay account that you're selling shit that you stole from work while at work, you know? You some kind of fucking retard? What are you? We some man of retard? You need a good smack. A good open palm smack. You come over here, sweetheart. You're selling shit that you've stolen from work. At work. Okay? Nothing wrong with that, you know? And it's not like you're doing it on your phone. Maybe your phone got a password or needs your fingerprint. It's not like you're doing it on... dude, you stupid. He deserved to get caught. He deserved to get caught. Moving on. Number 2, baby, we coming down to the wire. Number 2, kind of related, not a person, but a dog. When I first saw that dog, I knew that dog was an asshole and he fucked me over. Are you kidding me? Number 2 is actually about a dog. This is the greatest thing ever. No, seriously. Let's remind everybody, have you ever correctly had a gut feeling to dislike someone who on the surface was a cool person that everybody else liked? What's the story? Not a person, but a dog. From the moment I saw that dog, I knew he had it out, and everybody loved this dog. Look, man, let's just read the fucking post. Okay, years ago, I had a girlfriend who lived at home with her sister's parents, 3 dogs, and a cat. One of the dogs was a big, goofy lab that loved everyone. I mean, everyone. Two-year-olds could climb all over him, and he loved it. Anyway, the sister had been seeing some guy for a little while, maybe a month, and she's bringing him home to meet the family for the first time. The guy hadn't even come to the door yet, and the dog was in the house and went ballistic. I had never seen anything like it. He went from goofball apex to apex predator. Needless to say, he couldn't come in the house. They had to leave. About 2 weeks later, the sister comes home. He had slapped her and she ended it. She also found out that he beat his ex-wife before her. The Labrador could smell the evil on a wife beater. So the dog was the one who had the gut feeling. This is genius. No wonder it's upvoted so hard. People fucking love animals. Dog? I love dogs. Wait until I may or fucking anybody. The fucking dog loving weirdos get into this freaking post. Unbelievable. Number 1. We've done it, ladies and gentlemen. We have arrived. Ooh. No, I'm not gonna upvote it. No, I'm a nice guy. My parents had the family friend when I was around 15 to 16. Friendly, funny guy who gave me the absolute creeps. I didn't want to be alone with him in a room. I didn't want to be alone in a room with him. He made my stomach turn. Anyway, about 5 years later, I moved out of the home and he wound up in court convicted of 3 very historic back in the 80s cases of indecent assault of a girl when she was between 8 and 11. And 1 charge of rape. Of a 9-year-old girl. A 9-year-old girl rape. Wise poem for your sprog and everything. I didn't want another kid rape one, and it's the top of the fucking it's the top of the fucking thing. I really don't want to read this poem for your sprog entry, but you know, somebody's getting off to this guy writing this crap. So I'm gonna read it for you. But I'm also gonna look at you just like that one dude and was saying, what's in it for me? That's what I'm gonna say. You know? Are you gonna get naked? I'm kidding. Gross. God, that's gross. Okay, not you, gross. I don't know what you look like naked. Come on, guys. Let me just read this because it's not going to kill me a little bit inside. You feel it beneath you or somewhere behind. You gonna feel it beneath you and behind you, girl. You know what I'm talking about? You feel it beneath you and somewhere behind or somewhere behind. Sorry, the thing like jumped up. Did you see that? Like it came up in front of the thing. I don't know if my capture device captures that. Probably doesn't. You feel it beneath you or somewhere behind the pit of your stomach and back of your mind. A thought or a feeling that doesn't belong. The strangest sensation that something is wrong. It comes in an instant and lingers about. A twist of suspicion, a trickle of doubt. A feeling remaining a moment or two. A vague understanding of what might be true. So open your mind if it's stubborn or shut. And trust the emotions that start in your gut. It might just be nothing, that notion you've got. It might be mistaken, but maybe it's not. But if your mind is never shut, and if you always trust your gut, remember when you feel it loop, perhaps you only need to poop. You know the day's gonna come where Reddit just gets so stupid I can't fucking deal with this. Someone's made a needler from Halo. It's pretty good. Needler from Halo. Anybody watching my videos got that Nintendo Switch? You know? Is Zelda so amazing that, you know, you felt it justified you making the purchase for something that only has a battery life of 3 hours and only has one game for it? What are you going to do when you beat Zelda, you know? Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing. Nintendo should have released the Nintendo Switch at holiday season when they had a Mario game to throw out with it and Zelda, so that maybe you had some other things to play. But for me, you know, I don't see an Animal Crossing, I don't see a Pokemon game, I don't see anything that makes me want to go grab that Nintendo Switch. I'd love to have it, but it doesn't seem to be, you know, luring me the way a launch console should with some launch titles. So you tell me all about it, man. 3 hour battery life, man. Come on now. You know how many games Nintendo has? They could literally go, hey, we're Nintendo. We'll allow you to own 20 games from our library for free since you've bought the Nintendo Switch early. And you could be like, all right, cool. I want GoldenEye, you know, I want Banjo-Kazooie. I want Super Mario for the Super Nintendo. I want Star Fox. You name it. Donkey Kong, fucking Yoshi games, Kirby games, all of this shit. They could have thrown a care package of pre-selected games at your ass for you to just have with this Switch to just fuck around on it. But again, all it's going to be is another device to hack, and it would make a lot more sense if the battery life lasted more than 3 hours. And let me tell you something crazy that I heard about the Switch. Let me see here. Nintendo Switch. Notch. I think Notch, who made Minecraft, he made like this post basically illuminating how weird a place it was for the charger. He says, well, that certainly is one interesting charger port placement choice. At the bottom, dude, you have it so that you're supposed to be able to like kickstand this thing in the bottom and then set it down, yet your charger port is on the bottom. And then Notch is like being a smartass. He's like, oh, never mind. You just need to precariously rest it on household items. My bad. You know what I mean? And then it falls over and he's like, ah, shit. And then he goes, okay, here we go. He just duct taped it to the back of a laptop. If only that laptop could be used for gaming in some capacity. You know what I mean? And he goes, ah, fuck, because it falls over, you know, and the toy breaks. And then he goes, oh, I fixed it, to the toy. Notch the comedian, baby. Play Minecraft today. Seriously, Minecraft is still on my wish list. And if somebody buys that, maybe I'll play it, you know what I mean? Cheers. I have Minecraft on a PS4, but nobody wants to play with me. I could start a Kyle world and just leave that shit open and see what kind of bullshit people make. You know what I mean? I think the coolest thing about the Kyle world would be if I were to ever make it, I would try my best to hide myself in that world. Do you understand me? I would try to hide myself in the world and see if anybody could find me. That would be so fucking crazy, wouldn't it? That would be really crazy. I should probably get on that right now. I'd make a Minecraft world, and then when I invite people in, I'd be like, find me. Come and find me. Just the dumbest thing in the world. How long do you think it'll take? Can probably only be like 8 people on the PS4 world at a time. I'm sorry, I dangle these kinds of like really cool and interesting ideas, and then I never make anything of it. To be honest, I just need more people involved with me. I need like a writer or something, or somebody that can drudge up some scripts. Oh boy. Did you hear about some streamer who like was walking by a dude commit suicide or some crap? I don't know who this guy is, but apparently people know him. I'll shut up now. I'm talking to myself at this point. But guys, I hope you have a fantastic day and that things have gone well for you. Oh shit, this is Lucas. This is Lucas Werner. I wanted to do a video about Lucas, but Emmy wouldn't write a script. Oh, damn. Dude, this is Juicy Asians, the subreddit. I'm so fucking lucky that this was a safe for work fucking post. Because the Juicy Asian subreddit has all of the big titty. You know what I'm talking about? Wow. At any rate, you guys have a fantastic day. I was really lucky that that wasn't that was not bad. Guys, I'm ending the video now. I could ramble for days. I will talk to you soon. Love you. Be safe. Be careful. I'll try to stream later, as I consider myself to have earned it now that I've sat through one of my own unbearable videos. Later. Well, unless you like the content. It was too much kid rape. It was too much kid rape. I'll see you guys later.